G'day, welcome to Pay It Forward. Today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make this little cat lover's cushion cover. It has a really simple design, really striking, really easy envelope back. So if you'd like to make it along with me, simply click on the link in the description below. You'll be able to print out your free PDF pattern templates and then we can get started. So for making our little cushion cover today, you'll need to cut your front cushion cover piece. The measurement is there on your pattern templates, but that one is actually 43 by 43 centimetres. You'll also need two back panels for your envelope back, and they measure 43 by 30 centimetres. So we're just going to set those to a side. Now your fabric choice is entirely up to you. Because I'm actually using a curtaining fabric that has a rubber backing here, I'm not going to interface that front cushion cover piece. I would normally with any other fabric, because we're going to be applying that little applique cat and we want a nice stable backing to be able to do our sewing and so forth. So generally I would interface it, and I certainly recommend that you do if you're not using a really stable fabric like this one. So then we have our little cat applique all cut out. It has fusible web applied. I've just pulled that paper off. Now again, I'm using felt here because everybody knows I absolutely love working with felt. This cushion I'm making is a decorative cushion. I'm not intending to be throwing it in the wash. It can of course be sponge cleaned and so on. If you're wanting to make your cushion completely washable, I would recommend that you choose a suitable fabric to applique that will handle that. So once that backing paper is peeled off, we need to set our little cat right in the centre of our cushion cover. Now the measurement from the bottom of the rear foot to the base of your cushion panel front is 11 centimetres. That will just sit her nicely there, and centre her, measuring from the side, centre her from about the centre of her chest there. Just make sure she sits even there. And then your little heart, which also has a fusible web applied, I'm using felt again there. Just pop that one just nicely on her chest, just where you think that sits well. Fuse those on with a hot iron and a protective cloth, and then we'll come back and do the sewing. So you can see I have my little kitty and a little heart fused nicely into place there. Just another tip to let you know, if you have any sorts of problems cutting out those little small areas, I recommend that you get yourself a pair of little manicure scissors, because they're fantastic for cutting out little awkward shapes that are central in your project. So that's just something to remember. So I've now threaded up my needle with two strands of embroidery thread, a stranded cotton, and I'm using black. Now you'll notice this cat is actually a very dark charcoal, so I'm outlining it in black. That'll just frame it up nicely. But we are going for a very simplistic silhouette look here. The design is to be quite striking, so try and match your thread colour to your cat silhouette there. The overall look will be better, and I will be using a cream, match it up to this one, a cream very fine perlé thread to be outlining the heart. There's a couple of ways that you can treat the edges. Now if you're very clever on your machine, I tend to be better by hand. You might be very lucky and have a machine that will actually do a machine blanket stitch, and you could do that all the way around the edge. You could just use a very close set zigzag stitch, which will really make the process quicker. I'm going to sew my classic buttonhole, or what we call blanket applique stitch, all around the outside. I'm going to be sewing the entire outside of the cat and this little section here, but not the eyes. We're just going to leave those because they're nice and clean and neat, and that's the look we're going for. Now if you're not familiar with this blanket applique stitch, I do have a video on my other channel, Lisa Pay, how to sew the buttonhole or blanket applique stitch, and that'll show you really up close. When I'm working on a large piece such as this, I like to sit it on a table. You'll find what works best for you, but I like to sit it on a table where the table is quite firm underneath and my needle can slip under and I can keep everything flat. So the stitches are going to be, you can see I've just come in from behind. There's a knot in the back of my fabric at the end of my thread. and I'm coming in from behind, and I'm just coming right out on that edge, and I'm just going to do the same. My stitches are probably around about 3 millimeters, and you can see I've just come back through the loop, and we'll do another one. You can see that I can actually slip that needle actually on the surface of the table, so I'm not having to turn my fabric over all of the time, and I can control that quite nicely, and it keeps all your stitching nice and flat. You see I've come through the loop again, and that one's going to make that nice neat binding all the way around. So carry on whichever method you're going to use to outline your cat. Go ahead and do the same for the heart, and then we'll pop back. So there we have our little kitty, all that applique work done there. Now we can just set that cushion front aside, and we're going to work on our back panels. You can see that we need to treat one of each of the edges on our back panels. So I have gone ahead and sewn just a zigzag stitch on the machine just to seal those edges. If you like, you can turn under that edge. You can press that edge under. Instead of doing a zigzag, you can press it under about 1.5 centimeters, and then fold over again another 1.5 centimeters, press that, and you can make your stitching line along here. It's entirely up to you. I've just used a zigzag, and I will actually fold that hem back to around about 2.5 to 3 centimeters. I make my envelope backs, cushion covers, with a very large overlap. I think there's nothing worse than an envelope back cushion that where the overlap is not sufficient, and you've got your cushion insert really bursting out of there. So a good 3 centimeters will be fine. You'll still have plenty of room for your overlap. So I will press that fold back there, and then I will sew as close as I can on each piece. Now that we have sewn our back flat hems, we're going to assemble our cushion. So it's simply right sides together, and we're going to place our one flap on. Make sure that they are nicely lined up, your edges, and then repeat with that one, and then it's just a matter of pinning, particularly pinning those overlaps there. Pin all the way around, and then you'll just sew on your machine the entire outside edge. I always make my seam around about 1 centimeter and reinforce those openings. So back and forth over each of those openings on each side as you do so. So you can see that I've sewn that seam all the way around. I've then trimmed my seams back to just over 0.5 centimetre, and I've just also snipped each corner so that when we turn it through we can really push those little corners out. So now it's just a matter of turning through your cushion cover. This is always the best part, and I like to use just something like a knitting needle to push those corners out. Make sure that you get right in there at those corners, and push that seam out all the way around, and then we'll give it the entire cover a press, and we will pop in our insert. Now our insert is, I'm using a size 14 insert. I guess you could squeeze a size 15 insert in here, and it depends on what you like. It's entirely up to you. You can have them really full and plump, or not so much. So I'll give that one a press. And there we have our beautiful little cat lovers cushion. You can see that's come up really lovely. A nice envelope back there with plenty of overlap. Now I've actually ended up putting a size 15 insert. Be careful of your inserts, because I'm sure that they vary throughout the world. So you're probably best off checking your measurements before you purchase your insert, and then you can go ahead. Looks fantastic. This one also, I've made it up before in purples with a lighter purple base fabric with a nice deep purple kitty silhouette, and it really looks great. Well, I hope you've enjoyed making this little cushion with me today. If you have, you could give this video a thumbs up, that would be beaut. Now remember to subscribe, because we're going to be doing quite a few designs in the little cushion covers. You don't want to miss any of those. Remember to comment. I love to hear what you've got to say. Feel free to ask me any questions, anything I can help you with. So until we meet again, remember to pay it forward, because everybody can, and it's hooroo from me.